Welcome back, dear viewers. This is Maverick here, and today we are watching another episode of Tower of God. So, from the last episode, we are going back into the action, and indeed this is the first time where we are actually going to see the characters fighting in the, I guess, designated positions that this work has contrived for them, right? So this should be a little sneak peek into how battles will be in the future as well, once they actually get into the tower, and etc, etc. Now, I'm really looking forward to this, especially considering Kun is actually one of the commanders, I guess you could say, of the group, and going up against a ranker as well. So, a bit of a power imbalance here, you might say. But, yeah, I don't think there's really too much to recap. Let's just cut right to the action. Alright, I skipped the opening as usual. Let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Quant, right? Alright. Hmm? Was Kun really expecting to take down the ranker with just that kind of attack? Hmm. My thoughts exactly. Alright, so there's definitely a second layer to the plan. Yeah, that would be more befitting of him, I feel. Does that mean you're trash as well? Is she jealous? He's paying more attention to her? Is that so? Doubt. But oh well. Hmm. Alright. Let's see the power of a ranker. Oh, he's a scout as well. Oh yeah, I think someone mentioned that last episode. A commenter. Why would you want to? Never mind. I mean, we're obviously supposed to see the difference in skills and abilities. Whoosh. Alright, so I think this is also explained as well, but it's not a case where both teams are able to advance. I do kind of wonder though, like wouldn't by nature only those that are at danger of failing, which means the weaker ones, want to pass this? Although I guess there's also the credits that they can earn as well. There's a case of money. Money. Alright, what is his plan? I don't quite understand either. Right behind you. Oh yeah, since he already gathered the ten friends, that means he passed, doesn't he? It's coming here.
どうも、お疲れ様です。おい、そっちの鬼はどこだ？お、アナクならいないけど。まだ到着してないってか？もう橋にたどり着いてるはずだ。どこに隠した？確かにさっきまでこの橋にいたけど、ここから飛び降りて下の出口に向かったよ。バカ言え、この高さからか。彼女はザハードの姫だ。釣り師の試験での怪我をきっかけに
Is this a bluff?
肉体強化の訓練をしたそうだ。今頃きっと暗闇の中を走ってるんだろうな。ランカー様でもこの高さからの攻撃は怖いかも。
Hmm.
お前、ここで何？遅いぞ。早く乗れ。はあ？もうそこまで赤毛が。いいから、これで鬼を騙すんだよ。説明してる暇はない。お前はそこで待っているだけでいい。確かこの試験では神の水の量が制限されてるんですよね。そろそろ力が尽きちゃったりして。お前、東大をコピーしただろ。はあ？何言ってんだ？光を消していようが神の水のオーラでわかんだよ。お前はコピーした灯台で鬼を隠したんだ。橋の下に。
I don't get it. If he takes out Kun right now, wouldn't the lighthouse also fail?
じゃあここで問題。このまま俺と一緒に地面に飛び降りてお前がぺしゃんこになった場合、灯台の上にいる鬼はどうなるでしょうか？どうした？怖いか？怖いだろ。さあ、助けてください。本当にみんな。
He's thought of this, hasn't he?
頼めば助けてやってもいいぜ。クン家の元お坊ちゃま。お前、本気で人生を終わらせる気か？
Whatcha? Wait, how does? Oh, it's like an elevator. It's like a trolley of some sort. Okay. Really? Just like that?
すごい。クンさんは鬼が自分を道連れに飛び降りることまで想定済みだったんだ。ちょっと。ごめんなさい。これは。
I feel like that was still a huge bet, though. If Quan just simply knocked him unconscious right then and there.
いつも早がてんだな。しかし、神の水の残量を考えると、
Oh,
クオントがあの高さを一気に登るのは不可能。
okay. There's still one last twist.
あの青かっぱ野郎！ナジャスボグス殺せ！憎たらしいやつ！くそー、絶対負けらんねえのに。助けが必要なようだな。誰だ？ A チームの負けだな。
Hmm?
よし、この試験もらっ。ランカー。A チームテスト終了。
Huh? I don't think he's too pleased with this outcome, though.
あの高さをどうやって登ったんだよ。化け物かよ。俺のせいだ。俺がランカーの実力
Wait. Wow. What?
ねえ、上に上がりたくない？はあ？お前何言ってるか。上、登りたいだろ？お前ら、仲間を裏切るのか？
For what though?
登ってこい。やれ。
Did he do it for Bam?
彼はなぜあんな裏切りを。裏切り。勝利目前でクオントに手を貸すなんて、自分のチームへの裏切りでしょう。彼はチームを裏切ってなどいない。これがクンさんの本当のチームだ。
Hmm.
これは創作者の課題。A チームは負けなければならなかった。B チームにできるだけ多くのヒントを残した。
He's actually helping Team B.
全員がテストを勝ち進むために、彼は塔に持っていく荷物を整理した。確かにクン、アナク、シビス、ラウレは現時点で合格確実ですけど、あのおバカさんがすんなりクンさんの願いを叶えるとは思えない。選別者のくせに俺をもてあそぶとは。あの生意気め。
So he's gonna take his anger out on Team B.
みんな点数を稼ぎたくて必死だ。くだらない。ラフェルは全然輪に入ってこない。
じゃあ私が B チームのリーダーってことでいいよね。なに？なんか文句でもある？
飛んでお前ら姫様抜きで作戦とはけしからんぞ。姫様万歳。
決定ね。まずは鬼のバッジは私がつけて。
釣り師をまとまって行動させるとかバカなのかあの女。すぐ鬼に見つかっておしまいだろ。やっぱり俺らやりつかいレボリューションズが。
ヘボリューションの間違いだろ。
なんだと？
A チームを見てランカーである鬼を捕まえるのは不可能だと分かっただろう。鬼の動きを見てから釣り師が四方に散らばるという女の作戦は多少は目くらましになるかもしれない。戦闘要員の波使いもいるしな。
なるかもだ。それじゃあ試験官へのアピールにならんだろうが。そうだ、やりつかいレボリューションズは鬼を捕まえる。協力しろ。
ねえ、ほう。あんた、まだ本気で塔を登る気ある？自信なくなっちゃったよ。この先、ちょっと好きになったあいつらのこと、躊躇なく殺せるのかって。私ね、マジしょうもない人間だったの。
I can see.
言うコソ泥ってやつ。けど、ある船に忍び込んで
Huh. This definitely serves her image very well.
船にはランカーが乗っていた。あっという間にみんなが死んでいった。
Damn. That is metal.
このまま死ぬのは嫌。まだしょうもない人生しか送ってない。そう思った時、神が現れて私を塔に連れてきてくれた。最初はやる気だった。試験に残りたくて手当たり次第殺した。けど今は。
I mean,
最初からそういう関係ですよね。塔を登るためです。何が起きたってお互い恨みっこなしですから。
ほう。
すみませんでした。
余計な体力を使わせるな。おい、来たぞ。ランカーだ。急
What? Okay, so it's definitely a case where each side has their own kind of agendas. Which, I guess to be fair, kind of comes with the territory, right? Anyways, see you guys after this. Alrighty, that was definitely a surprising conclusion to both Team A's endeavors to pass the test, as well as what Endorsi did at the very end there, right? Now, looking at it, let's talk about Kuhn's position first and what he did. And within the context of this episode, I guess you could say it makes sense. He wants to basically guarantee that the largest amount of his allies are going to pass the test, right? So out of the 30 people, including the two Rack and the other Spearfarer who passed already, there's a total of 30 participants, right? And out of those 30, he wants the 10 that he has chosen to pass. So there's no real benefit from him allowing Team A to pass the test, since most of those that are already in his list are already among the strongest, and they will be able to pass just through their individual efforts, even without this particular tag test, right? Whereas on Team B, the ones that he is most worried of is people like Bam, obviously, and then also Serena, Ho, and maybe some others. I don't know, but within that context, I guess you could say it makes sense. It was definitely kind of weird in the first place to put them into these kinds of teams, and a comment that I read from last episode, I don't know if this really counts as a spoiler or something, but it's not really a case where if your whole team passed and you get a pass as well, you still have to contribute from your individual performance as well, right? So taking that into account, does that really matter that much? I don't know. I feel like the anime is certainly not doing a very good job of explaining things, and so at the end of the day, I don't really know what to think of all this, right? We don't really have anything to go on, and that even includes Kuhn wanting to take these 10 with him and allowing them to pass and get into the tower, right? Because hey, we don't even know what's going to happen once they step into the tower. Are these 10 going to be able to be sort of allies or friends and help each other climb the tower, or is it a case where once they enter a tower, it's going to be a free-for-all or whatnot, and so on and so forth, right? So really, really hard to say here. I do kind of wish that they would have explained a little bit further, like within the entire context of the situation, what is the value of having these different positions? What's the value of having these allies and whatnot? Is it literally a case where every single group of test participants, those that have passed, might form into a sort of group with each other, and so they will be fighting against the other testing groups that passed before or after them, and then they will also have their own little groups as well? Is it that sort of situation, or is it actually a free-for-all? Because depending on what the answer is, it actually has huge implications as to how they should actually approach this process of selecting people to pass, right? And not to mention, I think well, then again, we don't really know the quota of people that can pass, right? Is it literally a case where if all 30 of them reach the designated criteria, all 30 of them can pass, or is there a set limit? I believe in a comment last episode, someone said that there is actually a set quota for each position. If that was the case, then that also changes things by a bit, right? So I don't know. I just feel like in order to really appreciate the intricacies of the sort of mind games that are being played here and the strategy and tactics that go into it, we really need a little bit more information. As it is right now, we can just marvel at, so this is what Kuhn was really thinking of. Is that a good decision or not, right? We aren't really in the place to judge that. And indeed, it's hard to even guess what Endorsi is thinking right now, because I can't really think of any good reason why she'll want to backstab her teammates, right? I mean, if it was a case where she doesn't, if the achievements would be shared or whatnot, that's one thing. I don't know, maybe she's wanting to use this as a sort of decoy or whatnot. I mean, beyond the wild guesses we can have, there's really nothing else to go on to think of if there's a deeper reason for doing these kinds of things. So I feel like for me right now, I'm just really along for the ride, and there's not really much I can do in terms of the theory crafting or predictions that I like to do so much. So that is the situation that we have right now. And beyond that, what else? Yeah, I don't really know what else to say here, right? I think the episode itself was pretty self-explanatory, and well, I guess one thing that I will say, however, is that after seeing this episode, I don't think we're actually meant to see them get into an actual battle before perhaps the very end and once they get into the tower. Because even in this particular episode where Quant was going up against the people from the various positions and whatnot, I don't think there's really a big, you could get a good sense of what each position actually means, right? So, sure, because Quan himself was a scout, right? So we can kind of understand that the scout is supposed to operate within the shadows and whatnot. But for instance, the spear throwers, right? We don't really see them in action too much. They're literally still using their spears and not even, not really attacking from afar all that much. In fact, most of the range support actually came from the wave controllers instead. What exactly is the benefit of having someone being a light bearer and using the lighthouse, right? What exactly, beyond being a sort of interesting, beyond a sort of interesting transportation tool, right? What other benefits does it have? We don't really see any of that, right? We don't really see why there is a need for all these different positions, and indeed why it's a case where you need to be why certain positions can't really cover each other or overlap with each other. Why is there a need for these 5 in particular, right? So I think that might be intentional here. That's not something I'm going to blame the anime on, because after all, they are still in training, so it's hard to expect these guys to actually really fulfill their roles, right? That's another thing entirely. So, but with that being said, and looking at this episode, I guess we can infer that don't expect too much of the set roles or positions to take too much effect even within these 2 games of tag, right? And really, I think that's all I can say for right now. Like I said, there's too little information to go on. I mean, I certainly understand Kuhn's position, where he's coming from. It's always good to have 10 allies, and these 10 are more close with each other, right? But what bigger impact does that have once they actually get into the tower, right? And indeed, because there's lots of different implications. Like, for instance, would you want to have a mix of some strong allies and the rest of them being weak so they can't actually get in your way? Is it that kind of situation? Or is it a case where you want to really choose the strongest in each position? Or, etc., right? There's too little information for me to go on right now to really make any comment on that. So, with that being said, that was episode 8, and I guess we should just, we should just put this in the bag, and let's wait until the next episode, shall we? So, there we go. I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.